Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, back to the Valley of the Judged. I am your one and only gaming monk, better known as Mildra, and with me, I have my good brother here in the temple, our resident sky pirate, good brother Sizer.
Oh, hoy and avast, Mildra. Happy to be here today because next week we're turning the airship towards Gen Con.
Mm-hmm. And yep, I have a new look as you all can see. I finally got this in last night. Oh. I had been hinting at it for a few weeks, but it's finally here. And I decided Valley is a good place to showcase it. But we are back once again with Shadowscar. This time around, we're going to be delving into the rule sets as well as world lore. And I know we've talked a lot about the art when it comes to Shadowscar, but I do love the juxtaposition of this, of a break-in moment when it comes to some kind of compound with ninjas against soldiers. So you've got one person disabling the security cameras. You've got another person who's the point man in case something goes south. And you've got one more who's playing the diplomancer trying to do the distraction, and then another one being the knife in the dark.
Indeed, all the different ninja roles, they're diversified enough, and there's few enough of them that conservation of ninjutsu is not a problem for this squad.
Mm-hmm. At the very least, this is one of those jobs where you could say stealth is not optional. Oh. I think the only thing that bugs me is I'm trying to figure out if that's supposed to be a rifle or an SMG. Oh.
The person on the left or the right?
Yeah.
Looks like a rifle to me. But like maybe the perspective is a little bit off.
I think this perspective is what's screwing with me, because for a split second I was like, why does that look like an Uzi with a suppressor?
Yeah, I see how you get there. Or like, it almost looks like the barrel length is like on a different plane or something.
Mm-hmm.
The art. Otherwise, though, the art here is, as you've said, pretty on point.
And I'm not gonna get on anybody for that, because drawing firearms for a very comic book look, as well as drawing futuristic ones, is always going to be a tricky thing to do. It's the reason why if you look at the samurai edge in the original Resident Evil 2 and try to figure out, okay, what actual gun was used, it's a bit tricky because it's clearly this hodgepodge of different models of Berettas.
Yeah.
Probably because they just took it from either magazines or movies, because for some reason the Beretta was everywhere in the 90s.
Kind of was, wasn't it?
Oh. I'm like in the 2000s, it seemed that everybody had a hard-on for the Spaz 12. Oh.
No, taste in handguns change. I'm not sure what they would be based on. Maybe just their appearance in, like, media and movies and stuff.
Yeah. Oh. I can understand why a lot of AKs were used as props for movies in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
Because they were cheap.
Yeah.
Although, I did look at the trailer for Resident Evil, and I'm like, this is supposed to be taking place in the middle of nowhere in America, so why does this guy have a Spaz 12?
Yeah. But, it's got a typewriter in it, so that's something. I've
I'm
seen
not.
enough. I've seen enough Resident Evil played to know that that is a thing that you see in those games.
Yeah. Oh, I don't have high hopes with that movie, especially given the comments and what I saw from the leaked script.
I don't know, but I'm gonna give it a shot because I've liked Zach Krager's other movies,
Hmm.
and I don't really, and I'm not a horror game. I'm a horror fan, but I don't particularly like horror games for like unrelated reasons. I don't like playing them at least,
Hmm.
so I don't particularly care if it's true, like how true it is to the lore of it. I'm just interested in what kind of story he's got to tell.
Yeah, and the, I understand that though the trueness to the lore is something that it's going to be judged on regardless.
Other people can do that.
Mhm.
That's fine for them. I don't.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. So first, when getting into the rules, the first thing, of course, is the how to play part of things. So just as a reminder, everything uses d6s. It is stat plus skill as the number of dice you're going to roll. And any die that's 4 or more is a hit. Any die that's a 6 is 2 hits.
Simple.
And there's also a refresher on the concept of Inyo, which is just a check mark on the character sheet. When you fail a check by 1 success, you can use Inyo to grant yourself the 1 success you need to change that failed check into a successful one. Or you can use it when you hit a target to do 3 more points of damage.
Yeah.
But as long as it's marked, you can't use it again. When the other half, where the storyteller uses Inyo, uses it, then you can unmark it. Which they can do that to either cut down one of your successes or have an opponent deal an extra 3 points of damage.
Yep. So either you avert disaster or do a little more, or hit harder. One of those two things.
Oh yeah. And of course, they also cover opposed skill checks, which we covered in the first episode. Bonuses and penalties, which we also covered in the first episode. The shorthand of it is that it is adding and subtracting to your skill base.
Yeah.
Since they specifically mentioned skill base, it almost sounds like your stat is always going to be a baseline. Like that can't be easily reduced.
Okay.
When it comes to rounding, always round up. And we have the difficulty values, which range from 1 to 6. Though I do like the description for some of the higher ones, like for the heroic difficulty. Ducking the cover from an explosion behind a barrel while your hands and feet are tied.
Yep. Good luck with your ninja acrobatics in that case.
Mm-hmm. On the other hand, I've seen what some contortionists can do. So I can't quite rule it out.
Yeah.
But money is treated loosely. It's generally assumed that that what you need for your mission you can requisition and return it at the end of the mission, which is demonstrated by the very free-form approach that we saw with equipment and getting stuff for it, where it is on a point budget, and the more missions you've done, the bigger that point budget is going to be.
Indeed. Seems to work well for trying to get you to change up your loadout, think about how what the requirements of different missions, and also not be too fiddly when it comes to what your character's personal possessions.
Yeah. So
this does not seem to be a game where you're going to be accumulating a lot of personal wealth.
You do have a disposable income that is double your wealth rating at the beginning of each month. You can use that to add items to your personal inventory, or pay for expenses on missions, or maybe bribe guards. This can be used to buy items in the same way you'd requisition them. When you've used up all of that, you're still at your standard of living determined by your wealth rating. You just can't buy items or use your wealth for anything beyond basic expenses. And they do have a sidebar saying, purposely, wealth is left vague in Shadowscar. With every world using its own currency, it would be a lot to ask for you to keep track of how many US dollars you have compared to British pounds, compared to Nihon yen, and lunar credits. We suggest that you keep wealth loose for your games as well. There's no need to give characters a dollar value for everything. Disposable income should cover it. And A says this has a wealth stat like Fragged. Not too far off from that. And Fragged is also a D6 based system. Which is
please go ahead.
It's funny that he brings up Frag because I posted the trailer for the Frag Eternum Kickstarter the other night.
Okay. Now, personally, this reminds me of the resources merit in World of Darkness, which, as we know, this game takes inspiration from. So, standard of living is kind of what that suggests as well.
Yeah. Like at 0, you are flat. You are flat broke.
Yep. You are hobo ninja.
At 1, you are scraping by. At 2, you're getting by just fine. At 3, you have savings and make good money. At 4, you are notably well off. And at 5, you are independently wealthy.
Yep, maybe not Bruce Wayne level wealth, but not too far from it.
But then we get to social actions. So this is exactly what it sounds like, and I do like the fact that they mentioned you must base this influence on manipulation. Social actions aren't magic. So some of the bullshit that you see the Diplomancer pull off in some games, you can't do here. Any sort of manipulation you do still has to be somewhat reasonable. In the same way that a lot of games that have some sort of charm effect, you can't tell the charmed person to harm themselves or do something that they otherwise couldn't do.
No. Although in something like, most fantasy games, you would assume that if they're using like charm, they're actually using a spell.
Though even with those spells, they still can't.
Yeah. Which is good, I don't want to do straight mind control for the most part.
Now, if you want to have them take the hit for you when someone attacks you, that's another matter entirely. But you can't mind control somebody and then tell them delete yourself.
Yeah.
But so with social actions, we'll put on a mental state. And there are different checks can do different social actions. But removing one, the affected character can use an action to attempt to roll an average resistance or focus check. If they're suffering from the advanced form of a mental state, then the difficulty rises to 4. Penalties from mental states don't apply to this check, and each one has to be removed separately. Alternatively, another character can take an action to do a manipulation check to attempt to remove mental states at the same difficulty as the resistance or focus check that they would have done by themselves. And the social actions are Charm, using insight and performance to attempt to make the target think more highly of you. If you beat their defense, you remove the target's impression of you and gain +1 to convince or charm social actions against them. You can take a -2 penalty on your check to instead do a powerful positive impression on the target and gain +2 the social actions against them. And each of the social actions has that whole thing of you can shave off 2 dice from your own roll to get a better version of the mental state.
Yeah. Makes sense. Going out on a limb socially can backfire if you don't do it correctly.
Mm-hmm. But Convince uses manipulation, which just has the target agree with you or do something for you. If you do the advanced version and pass, then the target will agree with you or do as you ask without prompting. Dishearten also uses manipulation, where you have the target question their own abilities. They'd suffer a -1 penalty to checks made with a skill of your choice. If you do the advanced version, you instead lower the number of actions they can take on their turn to 1. I'd say that'd be worth the risk in combat scenarios if you can pull it off.
Yep. That would be the this is the mean girl ability right here.
Mm-hmm. And Taunt can use either manipulation or performance. If you pass, they take a -1 penalty to all checks other than melee and marksmanship. Alternatively, if you do the advanced version and pass, you cause the target to use all their actions to attack you.
Dry aggro.
And keep in mind, there's no the duration on these things is they last until the end of scene or somebody dismisses or they dismiss them. On the other hand, they can dismiss it or somebody can help them dismiss it. But if they do nothing, then it stays. But then Threaten, which you can use manipulation, melee, or strength to make a target fear you. If you beat their defense, they take a -1 penalty to checks required to oppose you. If you do the advanced version, the targeted character must flee from you and stay away from you.
Cool. Fear effect.
Mm-hmm. Fear effect, advanced version is basically a turn effect.
Yeah. Run and cower.
Mm-hmm. But then we have infiltration, because of course we got to have infiltration if we're dealing with ninjas.
Oh, indeed.
So the first thing they bring up is vigilance. So if a character is trying to move or act unnoticed, comes into the line of sight of another character, they must immediately make a stealth check against the observer's awareness check to remain hidden. Each time they act or move within line of sight, they must make a successful stealth check. And they do have a sidebar about running a stealth game. In some ways, Shadowscar runs counter to what many people are used to in tabletop role-playing games. You are indeed playing a hero, and your achievements can be grand and far-reaching, but you must remain covert. If you kick down the doors of the casino guns blazing, you're going to wind up in a lot of trouble. Some players find this easier than others, so it's a good idea to emphasize the stealthy nature of the game. You can even present the maintenance of stealth as a challenge of sorts, as you might see in a video game. Can your players complete the mission without ever raising the alarm? If so, you can give them something small as a reward, like temporary extra requisition points. And plenty of people will try and do perfect no-alert runs in stealth games, so there is some precedent for that.
Indeed. what, Thief or MGS or what have you.
Mm-hmm.
Dishonored.
Yeah.
Now, I do notice that it does seem like you may have to make quite a few stealth checks to stay hidden here, depending on how assiduous the the DM or the storyteller is about this. Because it says every time you move into a character's line of sight, they have to make a successful stealth check. That makes sense, but as I say, it's a lot of rolling. I think it could bog things down a bit.
I think it's one of those things where I probably wouldn't have the roll happen every single time, because that's just going to bog things down.
Yep.
But there are 3 tiers of awareness, much like an MGS game. And these conditions work a little differently. These are awareness conditions that denote your relationship with another character. Hidden, which is when you can't perceive something or don't know it's there. Obscured, which is when you can barely perceive something, or you can't but you know it's there. And perceived, where you can clearly sense something and track its movements. So, obscured, you take a -1 penalty on awareness checks and checks you make to physically interact with an obscured item or character. With hidden, a hidden enemy gets +2 to physically interact with you, but that makes them perceived. And there are specialized senses to deal with. Keen hearing, which we kind of saw with one of those tattoos early on. Yeah, it's +1 to awareness and can perceive anything that makes any amount of sound by sound alone. Yeah. Additionally, you're still alerted by weapons with the loud trait, even if they are fitted with a silencer.
Alright, so staying a little more true to life there.
Keen smell, you can pick up trace scents that other people might not be able to pinpoint. You gain a +1 to awareness checks. And if something within 30 feet of you has a familiar or potent scent, you immediately sense it.
So don't carry that vampire repelling garlic with you.
Motion sense. You can feel the slightest vibrations in surfaces and distinguish where they originated from. You automatically treat any character or object that is touching the ground within 30 feet of you as perceived.
Okay. Interesting to call it motion sense. I don't know if that's what I would have chosen, but yeah, it makes sense.
It is essentially the whole vibration sense. If you've seen Avatar, this is basically Toph's gimmick.
Toph's thing, yeah.
Sometimes that's also Daredevil's thing as well. But then night vision, you don't treat characters in areas of dim light as obscured and treat characters in total darkness as obscured. And spirit sight, you can perceive things in the spirit world for 10 minutes after taking an action. While using this sense, you take a -1 penalty to awareness checks when dealing with things in the material world, as you have a hard time determining what exists in which world. Something that I'd probably end up doing in my own campaigns if you're dealing with allies or enemies that have some of these senses is the enhanced senses work both ways. So if you want if you want to mess with somebody who's got keen hearing, break out something really, really loud.
Yeah.
If you're dealing with something with keen smell, well, even in the real world, there are certain sprays that soldiers will use specifically to mess with tracking dogs. There are certain scents to use to basically overwhelm them and make the dog useless.
Yeah.
And there's no reason you can't do that in this. Motion sense would be a little bit trickier to overwhelm, aside from make a lot of noise in multiple directions. And night vision, I immediately think of the eye shine that Riddick has, and why he has to wear welder goggles all the time. Because The thing about night vision is that it is enhancing the amount of existing light. So even smaller light looks brighter than it actually is.
Yeah.
Which means regular light that you use to illuminate a room is going to be blinding. And thank you, Mario. glad to see everyone seems to enjoy the look. But then we get to combat, and of course, combat is broken into rounds. We are operating under the 6-second rule. You can move a distance equal to your speed and take 2 actions. Straightforward.
Yep.
I appreciate that we're not doing some delineation of actions. No bonus action bullshit here.
Yeah, action economy is best when kept simple.
Mm-hmm. If you're going to use it, if you're going to use a variety of action types, at least allow for flexibility with them.
Yep.
Like I remember multiple times when I was playing 3rd edition asking, "What the fuck is a swift action?" But initiative is a awareness check, which is of course ranked highest to lowest. They don't say it here, but I'm assuming if there's ties on initiative, the tiebreaker is who has the higher awareness. Actually, I have to correct myself on it. It's the character in each group with the highest awareness skill makes that check. So it's not everybody making an awareness check individually. That is certainly one way to make things move a bit smoother.
Yep.
But when it comes to ambushes, it is stealth versus awareness. If the stealth check fails, initiative is established as normal. If it succeeds, the defending characters cannot take actions and must treat the ambushing characters as hidden during the first round.
Okay.
I actually like that kind of ambush setup more than I do others. But when you take a movement action, you move up to your speed. You can split your movement between actions if you wish. If you're mounted or in a vehicle, you use the vehicle or mount speed instead of your own. If you board a mount or vehicle as part of your movement, subtract the distance you already moved before mounting the vehicle, or mount from its speed before continuing to move. So your movement isn't being reset because you got into a car.
Yeah.
With climbing, leaping, or swimming, you spend 10 feet of movement for every 5 feet you move. And of course, moving through characters, if they're allies, you can do that without any problem. If they're enemies, it's an athletics or strength check.
Yep.
Against their melee or strength check. If you fail, your movement is stopped, and you lose the rest of your movement. And
kind of nice to be able to shove your way through, I suppose.
Yep. Unless otherwise stated, you cannot attempt to stop the movement of a vehicle/mount and must instead make an athletics check against your maneuver check to dodge. If they fail, the character takes 10 points of damage and suffers the prone condition. You know, the whole you're not stopping the truck barehanded thing.
No. Although there are certain clans that might be able to do that.
Mm-hmm. You know, like the ones that could just casually one hand a big rig. As far as there are 15 total potential actions you can take, and you have 2 each round. So let's see, we have aim, which is self-explanatory. If your next action is to take a strike or perform a Mikyo that targets a single character and deals damage, you can make a single melee, marksmanship, or focus check at a -1 penalty to deal 3 extra damage and cause the target to suffer bleeding. Ability or technique, self-explanatory. Analyze. You perform a check determined by the storyteller. Usually it's knowledge. And you have to specify what you're analyzing and what question you're seeking to answer. No spot checks for you. If you succeed on the check, then you get a clue. Then the assassinate action. I think this one's going to be important.
Yeah.
If you're considered hidden from your target, or they do not suspect you mean them harm, you're within 50 feet and you are unarmed or wielding a weapon without the loud trait, you can take the assassinate action to kill them silently. If you do, you must roll a stealth check against the target's awareness skill. If you succeed, you instantly kill the target or knock them out without alerting anyone who wasn't directly observing them. If you fail, you deal no damage and you're perceived. Additionally, the scuffle draws attention. If the combat isn't ended in 3 rounds, any allies of the targeted character in the area arrive on the scene and enter the initiative order. At storyteller's discretion, these characters might raise the alarm, alerting everyone in the area. If a player character or an NPC with a threat rating above rank 1 is the target of assassination, the character attempting to assassinate them must make a stealth check against the target's awareness skill base to initiate the assassination with the same result for a failure. If they succeed, they must immediately make a marksmanship, melee, or focus check, depending on their chosen weapon, against the target's athletics or melee check. If that's a success, the target character is either killed or knocked out. If it's a failure, the failure state of the standard assassination occurs. If the character is suffering the paralyzed condition, you automatically succeed against any checks to assassinate.
Yeah. It seems there's a lot of text there, but it's mostly common sense kind of stuff.
Then with the attack action, make a single attack with up to 2 weapons you are wielding, or with 2 unarmed strikes against up to 2 characters within range. I do like that up to 2 targets part. That opens up a lot of options. This is either a marksmanship or melee check against the same number of athletics or melee checks from the targeted character. On a successful attack, you can apply the effect of the attack. You can either strike, shove, or disarm. Strike is what you'd consider a standard attack. Damage is taken from vitality, minus any reduction from armor. Unarmed strikes deal 1 damage. Shove, move the target up to 15 feet away from you in any horizontal direction, or cause them to suffer the prone condition. And disarm, force them to drop an item they have in their hands. You can either take this item if you have a free hand, or knock it up to 15 feet away.
Okay.
Though the fact they mention up to 2 attacks at up to 2 targets makes me immediately think it'd be very easy for someone to do a Gunkata character in this.
Yeah.
Just go full equilibrium.
You definitely could do that. Just make your character Christian Bale, Yep. Just do it.
See, dash, you move up to your speed again. Defend, you get +1 on all defense checks until the start of your next turn. Or you can defend an adjacent character. When someone makes a physical attack against this character, make an opposed melee check. Something that I've talked about that I think should be considered when it comes to the whole defend an ally thing. I think we should expand the range to more than just adjacent. Because
okay,
I think when it's adjacent, it ends up, unless you're dealing with very confined combat arenas, it does end up having a bottlenecking problem. And zone defense has been a thing in football since, I think, the early 2000s.
True. I can see where you're coming from. It's like a thing where you have to run a few feet and like take the hit for them, or shove them out of the way or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, for those who don't play enough football, zone defense is the idea of your instead of trying to block one particular person, you're guarding a particular area on the field. And A says, if we're going by the standard 5-foot square rule, jumping across more than 5 feet to do a lookout, Mr. President, is going to be pretty rough. Not impossible. It's not always a jump, though. And I think said, oh, you meant how Pathfinder 2nd Edition does attacks of opportunity when people enter your threat radiance. Yeah, but if it's been a while since I've read through Pathfinder 2nd Edition, but I think they still have that threat radius at 5 feet. When you look at zone defense a lot of times, and the radius for that is significantly larger. And that ties into what I mentioned earlier, that we've had more map layouts that are lean more into set piece than the more confined stuff from the early years.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can find a play Hell, even basketball uses zone defense, and that's on a much smaller area. Hell, there's zone offense, but as well. But just as an example, and I'm going to put this in the side chat for you, Sizer.
Yeah.
This is an example of what's known as 3-2 zone defense.
Okay.
Obviously, the blue areas are the spots that they're supposed to be covering.
Indeed. So we've got 2 person to the right or left of the basket, then 3 then we move back a little bit, then we have someone in the middle, and then someone on the right or left of that.
And there's different versions of it. There's things like 1-3-1, or just doing man coverage, or doing spread. The point is that this is not a new concept.
Right.
And whether with basketball or football or plenty of other sports, the idea of defending these areas rather than defending against individual people is a pretty common concept. And I don't bring that up to say, well, if everybody else is doing it, why can't Tabletop? I'm more bringing it up to illustrate that this is a design opportunity that I don't think is adequately being explored because of tradition thinking.
Right. Yeah, I can see where you're coming from.
Especially if you're dealing with people with supernatural abilities.
Indeed. And who are quick on their feet and should be able to get to another place quickly, or just, sort of, you can envision the arena as more of someone sort of walking around in a zone rather than just staying in the same 5-foot area all the time.
Then we have grapple, which you can either use a free hand with or a weapon that has the grappling trait to do that. It is melee versus athletics. If you succeed, you do the grapple condition. which you can proc with 3 potential options. Choke, also known as being a sports fan in Atlanta.
Oh.
If anyone wants to get mad at me about that joke, I have one response. 28-3.
Well, I don't even know what sport you're talking about, but that is a high number versus a low number. I know that's not good.
Short version, that was the last time the Falcons were in the Super Bowl, they blew a 25-point lead.
Okay.
In what has been considered one of the worst choke jobs in history, and
wow.
one that has lived rent free in their heads ever since. Then again, any sort of choke job where you have a commanding lead is going to be memed to death afterwards if you blow it.
Indeed.
But for a choke check, it is melee melee strength versus strength or athletics. You deal 1 damage that is not lowered by armor. After 3 successful choke actions, they're unconscious. No, shh, go to sleep. Oh.
Yep.
The pin, you attempt to do a melee or strength check against athletics or strength. And if you succeed, you make them suffer the pin condition. Or throw. You can throw them up to 15 feet in any direction. The thrown character takes 1 damage and is prone. Now, choke and pin you see a lot in games when it comes to grapple rules. Throw you don't see as much, and I have had to house rule throw mechanics in some games because one of my players wanted to do wrestling moves.
Well, of course. Gotta chuck people outside the ring so you can then drop kick them.
Mm-hmm. Or in some cases, the good old going outside the window.
Yeah.
Like there was a running gag in one of my fantasy games of a tavern called the Flying Dragon. It's called that because if you don't pay the tab, you get thrown out, quite literally. Usually breaking the sign.
The Flying Dragon.
Yeah. Usually breaking the sign in the process, which is why they stopped trying to fix the sign because it was just going to get broken again. But I do find it funny that the throw part is something that so many designers seem to, for lack of a better term, grapple with.
Ayo. Yeah, I see what you mean. You'll be happy to know that I have included it in Skies.
Mm-hmm.
But it seems like pretty odd. Like if you're thinking about grappling, the people that are gonna want to do that are probably wrestling fans, right? And they're gonna want to do the things that you see in the ring. So just put them in there. Simple.
Oh yeah. Oh. He said it says I had somebody in an Anima campaign try to make a wrestling character. Unfortunately, he couldn't roll anything higher than a 20 on the die. Well, that's just because the dice gods hate us all. But I do the way I handled it is grapple is an action that athletics versus skill defense that they suffer entangle on. Where you could either injure them and deal half your melee weapons damage, or throw where they're no longer entangled but you inflict knockdown on them.
Yep.
And there's plenty of feats or actions that are built around that.
Yeah.
But No, help out, you're giving another person a +1 to a check. Item, you're using an item, self-explanatory. Preparation, this is basically delay.
Yeah.
Recovery.
Or ready, or whatever you'd like to call it.
Yep, recovery. You are spending an action to give yourself 1 point of ki. Since it says 1 point of your spent ki, you can't overfill. Doing a skill action, self-explanatory there. Doing a social action, self-explanatory there. And with Mikio, you pay the key cost to do a Mikio that you know. The resolution can vary. We covered that when we covered the different clans. If a Mikio targets a character, you must make a focus check opposing your target's defense check. If it's multiple targets, all targeted characters defend against the singular focus check. To properly perform a Mikio, you need both hands free. You can perform with one hand, but you take a -1 penalty to the associated check. And the key cost is consistent across the board. Genin Mikio, 1 point. Chunin, 3 points. Jonin, 5 points.
Love like cost or like mechanics thing to be easily internalized, easily remembered.
And we do have the 9 hand seals,
which you must do out of character to cast a Mikio.
The hand seals are used in a type of meditation known as Kuji-in, I believe it was called, which is where that kind of thing can come from.
Yep, I see it mentioned in the 9 hand seals there. Kuji-in, yeah.
Yep. But I do like that they mentioned that the hand seals aren't necessary per se, but they're used as a kind of muscle memory.
Yeah.
But I like that because this is reinforcing the type of focus that's needed in order to do these effects. And Mario, to answer your question about whether or not that's humiliating to give a pity goal, that's in the same category as a gentleman's sweep in a best of 7 series, for instance.
Yeah.
Gentleman's sweep is like a regular sweep, but you give them 1 free win at the start, and then you give them nothing else. That kind of thing happened with the Leafs against the Panthers a few years ago, after the Leafs finally won a playoff series for the first time in almost 20 years, and then their fans were chanting, "We want Florida." Which, as soon as I saw that they were chanting that, I was like, you guys are going to get fucked. You never, ever do that. You are tempting the gods of irony. And that's exactly what happened.
Oh, yeah?
Because it's Toronto and they can't have nice things. But then we get to conditions. And a lot of the conditions are self-explanatory, but I like that, I guess in the name of keeping things straightforward, conditions don't have a duration. It's until they're dispelled, essentially. Or until you use the means to end them. Or whatever would naturally end that condition. But it's not a case of, okay, you have this many rounds. Which, I do that for Legend Edition, but I end up using that for certain things. Even if sometimes it causes some salt. Hi, Spirit Master. But then we have hazards, and a lot of these are, I'd say fairly self-explanatory as to what they would be. So collapses, decompression, dense fog or heavy rain, also known as an average day in Seattle.
Okay.
Dim light, also known as an average day half the year in Alaska.
Mm-hmm.
See,
This, why the vampire population is so high up there.
Yeah, we've seen 30 Days of Night.
Yep.
Electricity, self-explanatory. I do like that electricity has the thrown backward part, which makes me think of that one ridiculously oversized amp in Back to the Future.
Oh, yeah.
Let's see, extreme temperature, also known as an average day in Minnesota or an average day in Arizona, depending on which extreme you're talking about.
Indeed.
Let's see, falling, which has a threshold of 100 feet. Let's see, fire, and harmful fumes, aka what I had to deal with for about a day because of the wildfires up in Canada.
Oh boy, yeah. Even I was coughing like every time I would go outside down here in Iowa.
Mm-hmm. See, high winds, which is self-explanatory there, and it can screw over flying characters.
Mm-hmm.
Which, given that one of the clans, wind is kind of their thing, if you're dealing with say a controlled Tengu who's up in the air, is like, you can't hit me up here. Well, now you have a solution for that.
There you go.
See, radiation, then rough terrain, slippery surfaces, space, suffocation, total darkness, being underwater, and being in zero gravity. Some of them, you might raise an eyebrow and say, why would that be in this kind of game? Remember that one of the worlds is basically a space colony.
Yep.
But we also have mechanical hazards like a melee turret, which makes me think of those spinning blade traps in Rise of the Triad, or surprise spikes.
Yep, just anything that will pop up out of nowhere and try and stick you.
Yep, a ranged turret, which I have made artificer classes for no other reason than to make ranged turrets so that I can cosplay as the engineer from Two Fort. You know, the enemy turns the corner and they see five turrets.
Yeah. And that might be the last thing they ever see.
Mm-hmm. And of course, in one case, one of the other players is like, "Don't you think it was excessive to use that many turrets?" I'm like, I am teaching them a very valuable lesson in trespassing, and they'll remember that lesson for the rest of their lives.
Yep. However long that ends up being.
I think in one case it was a grenade launcher that was launching pepper bombs.
Well, that will certainly be a very memorable lesson.
Mm-hmm. And then we have the Nightingale floor. I think I told you about what that is.
Yeah, we talked about that last time.
Mm-hmm. And security cameras. But we also have magical hazards, like a barrier talisman. Although I do like the effect here. It's not just a shield. If you try and strike either side of the surface, trying to damage it, the damage is reflected.
Oof.
Making you take the damage that you would have dealt. A dampening talisman, which makes it so that all characters other than yokai cannot use ki from their ki reserve to perform Mikyo. Disruptive talisman, which can cause an agent's receiver, projector, and recorder tattoos to not work. A illusion talisman, which projects illusions decided by the crafter of the talisman when it's placed. The illusion cannot be picked out as an illusion unless it's physically interacted with. The silencing talisman, Nothing can make sound in the 50-foot radius where the talisman is placed, and every character in the area who enters it cannot hear and takes a -1 penalty to awareness checks until they exit the area.
Aha.
And then a swarming talisman. Within this area, the spirit world is filled with swarming eels born from Yomi's magic, which attack any character in the area, causing them to lower their ki by an additional amount equal to the roll of a die at the beginning of each of their turns. Ow. You met? Because we all
eels.
I think we know that one person who is always going to roll 6s and that kind of thing because the dice gods hate them that day.
Yep.
But we also have the whole thing of not manipulating the veil, but maintaining the veil. Basically, keeping civilians calm and out of the fact that there is a fight.
Yeah.
You know, there's always some intergalactic plague that threatens to wipe out life on this planet. The only way that people go with their happy little lives is that they do not know about it.
Indeed.
And there are 3 levels of alert: passive, alert, and high alert. And you could kind of look at this as something like the star levels in Grand Theft Auto. And breaching the veil can happen when multiple civilians witness yokai magic or proof of the veil war. A minor breach can be covered up without a cleanup crew getting involved. A major one, there's no way it could be passed off as a hoax.
Nope.
And
don't breach the masquerade, kids.
Mm-mm.
The sheriff doesn't like it.
And that's what usually if there's a major breach, a cleanup crew will be dispatched in about 10 minutes. Which at that point, the agents are given authorization to do anything they must to control the situation. Which, in some extreme cases, may result in doing things you probably don't want to. But then we do have explosives, which is a marksmanship check, of course. And explosives have a range of 10 a area of effect of 10 feet and a range of 50. If you fail the check, the explosive is still going to get thrown. It's just not going to land where you wanted to.
Yep.
You can jump on the explosive as a self-sacrifice if you wish, which, if that's the case, you suffer double the effects of the explosive, if applicable. But no one else is affected.
How noble of you.
Then we have poisoning, which attempts to check for poison is a challenging knowledge check. Alternatively, it can be applied to a melee weapon, 3 ranged thrown weapons, or 3 units of non-firearm ammunition. When it deals damage, the poison is applied. Remains potent until the weapon deals damage to a character. If you're putting this on a weapon that's two-handed, you need 2 vials. Poison damage is never lowered by armor. And we do have cover. And instead of we do have partial and full cover. But what's also important is the material, which has a certain amount of vitality per inch.
Okay, so metal's the best, it would seem.
Because that's 10 vitality per inch. And given the damage mitigation that we saw with the weapons, you're going to have to do a few hits in order to get that.
Yeah.
Second place is stone, and it looks like third place is bulletproof glass. Which, because of the fact that it's vitality per inch like this, it also means that you can eventually break it.
Yeah.
In the same way that if you fire enough bullets, you'll eventually hit something. But
definitely seems like it's possible to destroy or pierce that cover, though, if that's what you're aiming to do.
Yep. Then we have the common. These are magic masks that are created by Agris witches, or not Agris, Ogress witches that are called Hanya. These allow a yokai to disguise themselves as a human.
Or in Okami for you to just disguise yourself as a yokai.
Oh. We have seen certain clans can use yokai's common to steal the disguise that yokai had. Oh. On the other hand, when a yokai is wearing their common, their power is suppressed. They have no ki reserve and lose any quirks that would only be possible based on their physiology. If their common is removed or destroyed, they transform back into their true form. And if a normal human or even a agent wears a common, unless they have the specific abilities that I mentioned before, they are not affected. They're just masks.
Yep.
However, the markings on the commons can be seen as a status symbol as well. Lowest ranking ones have brown markings. The lieutenants of Izanami's army have green markings, and captains have blue markings. The highest ranking yokai have black markings. There are rumors that King Hametsu and his coven of Hanya wives have black common with red markings. Which, if one needs to draw inspiration, there's plenty of Hanya masks out there that you can reference for the look of those kind of things.
Indeed, you've probably seen one or two in an anime.
Mm-hmm. But then when it comes to wounds and death, a lot of it works the way you'd expect. I do like that when you die and enter the spirit world, you become a wandering spirit. Which you don't have the items that you had, but you do have access to techniques and Mikyo. You can perceive the material world, but you can't physically interact with it. You also can't be sensed in any way unless you're dealing with people who have spirit sight. And they do say it's a rite of passage and a mandatory part of Shadowscar training that for every agent to be executed and resurrected. This is done so that the agent can adapt to being a wandering spirit. Once a spirit passes into the spirit world, they must focus on keeping their form or they will fade away and be claimed by Yomi. However, a well-trained spirit can still aid their team even after death by negotiating with local kami in the spirit world, or even spying on the enemy. And while you don't have vitality as a wandering spirit, your ki determines how long you're able to remain in the spirit world. If you don't have ki points, you pass on. At the beginning of each of your turns as a wandering spirit, you lower your current ki reserve by 1. And you also lower your ki reserve by 1 anytime you take damage from a threat.
Okay.
On the other hand, a spirit lantern could be used to capture you in a place where you no longer drain your ki by being in the spirit world. Which is one way that that dead agents can be retrieved. You know, you get their spirit and then you bring them back.
Yep, nice that you can die and it's not the end.
Mm-hmm. Of course, we do have the thing on healing. There's natural healing, 3 points at the beginning of each day. True healing pools, which I'd say is the equivalent of a back to tank.
Mm-hmm.
Resurrection, which is basically is used in a lengthy and extensive process. An agent resurrected in this manner lowers their requisition points by 10 for the next mission. If the body is not recovered, a new body must be created. An agent who is resurrected lowers their requisition. In this manner, lowers the requisition points by 20 to a minimum of 0 for the next mission.
All right, well, that could really mess you up.
Yeah, that could result in some very good roleplay opportunities if you were killed and the body that you're brought back in does not look like anything like your old body.
Yeah.
Or
you could even be used to it's like essentially like plastic surgery. You're the same person, new body, and you can use that to your advantage in the next mission.
Mm-hmm. And we also have a thing on the communicator tattoos. When you finish your training, you're marked with 3 tattoos that allow you to communicate with allies and civilians. These tattoos are made of magically infused ink and are invisible to the naked eye. But it can be seen under the light of special lanterns, which causes the ink to fluoresce. I feel like that last sentence there is their way of saying, this is how we can tell if someone's actually an agent or if someone's trying to pretend to be an agent.
Yep.
So the receiver on the ear is a magic translator, as well as hear the projected thoughts of any member of your strike team. Though it only registers projected thoughts, meaning that the agent must use the projector tattoo to project the thought for someone to hear it. The projector tattoo is on the tongue, which translates speech or writing of an agent into any known language. And again, project your thoughts into the minds of others in your strike team. And the recorder is inked over your left eye. This allows you to see. This allows the handler to see through your eyes and hear through your ears, as long as you're in the same world. It also allows the handler to record what they see and hear for later review.
Okay. Well, your handler's definitely keeping tabs on you, so just keep that in mind, folks.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully they're a good person.
Yep. Now, then we have rift diving, which is one of the ways that you can travel between worlds, even though it is dangerous. Because when you're rift diving, you're going in the in-between and witnessing the entirety of existence for a moment. And while Kami can go between worlds with no issue, mortals have a harder time controlling where they wind up. The Kami gates are safe ways to go between worlds. If you try to dive without using one of the gates, that's where things get interesting. Best case scenario, you go to where you planned. Worst case scenario, you go into a surrounding world. Which, the problem is, a lot of those worlds are uncharted.
Okay. And who knows how well they've been invaded by yokai already.
So if you have the Rift Claw Mikyo, which is only taught to members of the Hollow Eye Syndicate. You can take an action and spend 3 ki to tear open a rift in reality. That rift is open for 1 minute unless stabilized with rift anchor seals, and commonly used by yokai and Hollow Eye Syndicate members to create permanent portals. When it's created, the storyteller decides how long the distance between the two worlds is to determine the number of times you'll have to traverse the in-between. This can be 1, 2, or 3 times. You have to then visualize that in, for instance, using hexes on a battle mat. This is the number of times they'll have to successfully traverse the in-between to get to your destination.
Cool.
You can take a movement action to move forward or backward by 1 space, quote-unquote, in the in-between. But this is a focus check. If you succeed, you move that space. If you fail, you start to drift off course. If you drift off course, you have to make a resistance check to avoid witnessing existence. Your other actions can be used for any other actions you'd normally use. You can take dash actions to move faster, but each time you do, you take a -1 penalty to the focus check. If you fail 3 focus checks, or you're in the in-between for more than 3 rounds, you're pulled into a random world. And there is a controlled method that was used in the earliest days of the agency. Basically, by using their ki, agents were able to create a tightrope from their current world to their destination. This method was forgotten after the creation of the gates, but the Hollow Eye Syndicate still uses it. You spend 1 point of ki and cast the Spirit Link Mikio, and you can create a tightrope that grants a +2 bonus to focus checks required to traverse the in-between. If you fail a focus check, however, you have to make a resistance check, as mentioned, to avoid witnessing existence, as you lose control and drift through the void. If you succeed in this check, you're able to shut your eyes in time to avoid seeing anything dangerous. If you fail this check, you see the entire mosaic from the outside. This momentary glance warps the character's mind as their brain struggles to comprehend what it's seeing. Immediately upon witnessing existence, a character has 2 options. They can try to look away and spare their mind, or they can attempt to understand what they're seeing. To ignore it, that's the focus or resistance check. If you fail that, you get a new disadvantage from the following list based on how you want to cope. You either get poor eyesight, faint-hearted, or deadpan. Though you can try and understand it, this is a master tier focus check. If you fail this, your brain is in a recursive loop trying to make sense of what it's seeing, and you suffer the paralyzed condition until you make a heroic focus check, or until someone uses an action to make a difficult manipulation check to snap you out of it. If you succeed, let's go to page 214. We'll cover that later, but I like the fact that traveling between worlds like this is possible, but very dangerous.
Yeah. Makes sense too, and reminds me a bit of Porte Sorcery from 7th, where you're supposed to go through the portals with your eyes closed, because what you might see there might drive you quite mad.
Or the things that are in there might want to make sure you don't leave.
That too.
Yeah, I remember when we did the campaign, there was a whole caravan that was going to be going through for the expedition. Most of the caravan didn't come out the other side.
Yeah. Those poor fools.
Sometimes some of them came out the other side, but there's a lot of red.
Yeah.
A lot of red and a lot of dead horse. But then we get to the world lore part of things, and the first thing they go into is the Shadowscar Agency. First going into the history. I do like that there is quite a bit. With the current year being January 1st, year 834. Which the order was founded in December 3rd, 811. So the agency hasn't been around for that long.
Yeah.
Then we do have the different departments, and you could play other departments aside from being field agents. So the other parts we have are operations, administration, belief, medical, and support.
Okay.
Which I know one might look at the belief part about and the fact that they're making propaganda and go, why would that be in this agency? Well, if they have people in positions of authority who are aware but are trying to not draw attention, that'd be one reason to have it.
Mm-hmm.
There's also the fact that yokai are weaponizing negative emotions, so they're going to try and counterbalance that in what they call emotional counterterrorism. So it certainly makes sense. And we do have a look at what the headquarters looks like.
Here you go. It's a star with a ring around it.
Mm-hmm. The central headquarters is built on the outskirts of Kyoto. Basically, it is built around Gecko Castle. And I do like that they say, yes, you would think that a secret agency would have some form of equally secret cavern lair or some kind of magically concealed fortress.
But it's just as it's probably more convenient just to hide in plain sight like they're doing.
Mm-hmm. Which certainly makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And we also have the history of ninjutsu, as well as the door being open for other potential clans. But this is where they go into a bit more detail on the clans that we saw in character creation, starting with Arashi, then Futsumashi.
Mm-hmm.
And just from the images we have here, we can kind of get a feel for how the clans operate.
Yeah.
Then Hibana. See, then the Kuromaku clan, which this appearance certainly fits the most modern-looking clan. I mean,
It does.
That looks like any classroom you'd see in a decent-sized university, rather than what you'd typically expect from a bunch of shinobi.
It is. They even have hollow screens.
Mm-hmm. Let's see, the Tante clan. Which I like that we have the tightrope walk, which some of the people in the back are having less easy times with it, and then we just have one person.
Yeah.
It almost looks like they're reading a book from this angle.
Yeah, I do believe that is what they are doing.
See, then the Wanami clan. Who, when I see this image, I keep thinking of that meme of "You came to the wrong neighborhood, motherfucker."
Yeah.
But then we also have an outline of the mosaic and the different levels of yokai infection. And even though we only covered four worlds, this very much shows that there's a lot more worlds in the mosaic that haven't been discovered yet. Which is shorthand for any world that you want to put into your campaign, here's how you can do it.
Indeed, and gives us plenty of room to make an expansion.
Mm-hmm. We also have the concept of Utsushio and Kakuryo, the unveiled world and the material world.
Hmm.
Or rather, the unveiled world and the unseen world. Basically, the material and spirit world. And this is where they go into a bit more detail in the worlds that we've already seen, like Nakatsukuni, for one. And I will obviously I have to praise the art, but I also have to praise the way the pages are set up, almost like you're reading a file.
Yeah. It does, in with the stylized scrolls on them too.
Mm-hmm. But we do have a few factions within the place, as well as locations of interest, and then we have the Steel Court, which, as we mentioned, is basically steampunk Victorian England with even more steampunk, but also the Napoleonic Wars.
Yep.
And what looks like early colonies using steampunk gorillas and beetles.
Yep. What kind of beetles are those? Are those like scarabs? Yeah, I guess they're kind of like scarabs. Yeah.
No, I don't think those are. I think those are kabutos.
Kabu. Yeah, there you go. Because they've got the Kabuto helm
Mm-hmm.
pinchers.
Yep. But of course, if we're going to be doing steampunk, we have to have airships.
Mm-hmm. Oh, of course.
And the factory workers, including they call them peace supers. With its own factions. So we have the Victorian Empire, which controls a lot more than it did in the real world. Like it's pretty much covering everything to the west of the Alps. And then there's Switzerland, who even in this universe is still neutral. We have the Holy Roman Empire, the Tollbooth of nations that is. The Ottoman Empire, the Russian Empire. Don't ask them about their navy. And the Scandinavian Alliance.
Oh, they're sure up there, aren't they? They're such good boys and girls. Sven and Oli and Lena just having a nice time.
God damn it. Let me see. And yes, Switzerland is neutral.
Okay.
Then we have 5th Street, which is Bootlegger Central.
Yep. In case you want a little bit of noir to go with your ninja.
A little bit of noir and a little bit of World War pulp.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Although this is meant to be the 20s, so just not previously, but not too far removed from the war that end all wars' end. But specifically, this is focusing on that sort of post-war era in the U.S.
We have prohibition going on. Is that what we're seeing here?
Yep.
Okay.
And It does. A lot of the places you'd think are still here. Um, include, but this also includes the Derby Field Sanatorium. But then we have Refuge. The one of these settings that doesn't have a real world equivalent. Although we do have a bit of F-Zero going on with those cars.
We do. And immediately the Big Blue theme starts playing in my head.
Probably also have the same amount of cruelty that was in F-Zero.
Yeah, maybe so.
But we have the colony on a space elevator on Luna. And different national habitats. So we have the Pan-African habitat, the Pan-American habitat, the Pan-Asian habitat, the Pan-European habitat. Which is a very nice setup. Also, a worn satellite called the Red Angel that the Russians claim they never knew about. But it's too radioactive to go near.
Yeah. And I think I see a satellite of love just passing by on to the left there.
But that covers. I know we skimmed through the world lore, but that's largely because it's certainly interesting, but it's something that I can't really dissect too much.
Yeah, that's true, and it's like, you'd have to make this more of a story time kind of podcast to really make that work. Mildred the Monk reads the scriptures, something like that,
I have considered doing story times, but if I do that, it's going to be a veiled excuse for me to stream reading through the Lodos novels. And making it very clear that I'm reading it. I'm not doing a dramatic reading because I don't have the voice for that, and I'm not doing an audiobook because I don't have the voice for that. I think I tried that kind of thing once, and I learned actually twice because I was asked to.
Okay.
And I learned very quickly that it's not something in my wheelhouse.
Yeah, I can see that. It's like you've got a good voice for radio. I'll give you that, bud. But you got to have kind of a good vocal range to be a really good audiobook reader, I think.
Yeah, and I've never done proper voice acting.
Yeah.
I've done stage acting a few times in my life, and the one time I did stunt work, which I'm never doing stunt work again.
And here I was thinking we were gonna get a good D-Lit performance out of you, but I guess we'll have to leave that to a Mildra in another timeline, or perhaps another World of the Mosaic.
But as far as the actual rules go, what did you think of what we saw here?
Yeah, seemed pretty good. They covered all the things that I would have wanted to know, I think. At least if there's anything that they left out, it didn't really come into focus, at least yet. Maybe a combat example might have been nice, but they did pretty much lay out most of what you'd want to do in combat anyway. So I think there was that one thing I mentioned with the stealth mechanics they say whenever you're potentially spotted, you have to roll stealth. Yeah, I think we house rule that away somewhat, but for the most part, I'm here for it. I like the simplicity of most of the rules, even the ones that were a little more involved, like the assassination rules, were good to were not so in depth that you'd have to, you know, do a huge deep dive anytime it came up. So, yeah, what do you think?
It is pretty straightforward in terms of what it's doing, and I didn't see too many rules where that's going to be an issue. And as far as the whole sample thing, there is going to be a sample adventure in the back of the book.
Ah, okay.
And there have been a few sample missions that have come around. Include some a bit more serious than others, and then there was the Christmas one, Secret Agent Santa, which is exactly what you think it is.
Yeah. Oh boy.
So there is that to keep an eye out on. And
indeed,
when it, as far as any particular issue, maybe I know you mentioned maybe an example. What the only thing I could possibly add, and this is, if it isn't in here, it's something that could easily be put in, is some kind of cheat sheet, especially for the different contested actions.
Yeah. For specifically the combat actions, or were you thinking more like the social actions?
Just in general, whether it be combat actions,
okay.
whether it be social actions, either or.
Cool. Yeah, I can see that. I'm putting together exactly that for my Skies games at Gen Con, because people don't know the system yet. They're gonna need a little cheat sheet that shows them their options. And that's a good idea for newish games with newish systems. It just allows you to convey that information to your players and allows them the freedom to sort of bone up on the things that their character might be using in combat or what have you.
But now we will not be doing Valley next week because Sizer is going to be at Gen Con. I probably could have gone myself as well, but I hate flying.
Oh yeah, I guess you might have to. We're going in. We're driving, but that's still a pretty long drive. So too bad we won't see you there, Monk. I will drink a Sun King beer in your honor, though, if you'd like me to.
I appreciate that. Michael saying, when I saw when I read the quick start, this looks like the weakest RPG I've ever read. I don't really see it in that form, but you do you. Anyway, I will be back here tomorrow to cover more of Augusta Universalis with Monarch. Unless something happens, like a surprise tornado or something, which isn't going to happen because it's not tornado season, and this far north we rarely get hit anyways.
Yeah.
But as always, a sincere thanks to everyone who came onto the show to enjoy the madness that happens here. And there'll be plenty more where that came from, as there always is here, on the open bar of the internet. But until then, on behalf of the good brothers present and not present, my name is Mildra. I am your gaming monk. Stay fucking frosty, everybody.
Bye.